Sagar Katdare. Aditya sir has already introduced me, so I don't want to waste any more time in my introduction. Let's get started with the topic. So today is our first session, so I warmly welcome all of you to this course, which is about CSAT Civil Services Aptitude Test. It's just an induction session today, wherein we will try to understand about what is CSAT, what it takes to clear it, and then all your question and answers, any kind of question and answers. Okay, so before actually getting into the details, I would really like to first tell you about the kind of CSAT examinees we see around. This is based on our experience of over a decade, and also from our preparation times, the kind of people we used to see attempting the CSAT, right? So first are, it's like this, मैं मेरे को सब आता है, मैं expert हूँ. So these are highly overconfident people, typically from engineering background. No offense, guys, please. But people who think that maths is मेरे बाएं हाथ का खेल, I don't really want to try anything directly जाके paper solve करूंगा, qualifying ही तो है types. Okay, so highly overconfident people, but they are the ones who mainly fail in this exam. Don't be in this category. Secondly, this type of people, like मेरे को तो ना ऐसे धक धक हो रहा है. So people who are afraid of CSAT typically are non-engineering friends from legal or arts or commerce or any other background, who think that 10th standard के बाद I did not even have any contact with maths. Mental ability तो मेरा कुछ है कि नहीं पता नहीं types. Okay, and they are quite afraid of it, but don't be so. Just attend our classes, make sure you practice well, and you will be there. And you will get into this third category, I would say, uh, full style. Okay, so these are the ones who attentively attend the classes, learn all the tips and tricks that we teach, do their own practice, ask doubts, and then they excel in the exam. Okay, so we have to be in this third category. Okay, let's get started. So agenda for today's session is, first we will talk about what is the exam pattern, what is the syllabus for that. Then we will try to see what are the related or relevant exams for this. Because while we say this is a CSAT induction course, we are going to focus on basic numeracy, mental ability, logical reasoning, and so on and so forth, which are going to help you not only in UPSC civil service exams, but many more exams. And we'll see which all exams are there. Then we will try to decode the syllabus, because if you have seen the UPSC notification, CSAT syllabus is mentioned only in 6 to 7 lines. Okay, so we will decode it. We will analyze previous year's question papers in terms of various trends, and we will decode the syllabus. We will get into the specific details of it. Okay, and then we will have our Q&A. All right. So let's get started. CSAT stands for Civil Services Aptitude Test. It's a paper two of your UPSC Civil Services preliminary examination. Maximum marks are 200. Duration is of 2 hours, and there are 80 questions that you can attempt maximum. And yes, there is a negative marking, which is one third of the total marks allotted for the given question. Okay, so you might have done the math. 80 questions, 200 marks, so 2.5 marks per question. So one third of that, 0.67, is a negative marking for that. Okay, so according to UPSC's website, this is the syllabus: comprehension, interpersonal skills, communication skills, logical reasoning, analytical ability, decision making, problem solving, general mental ability, basic numeracy, which is up to class 10 level. So not to worry, we will see what this all means here. Okay. Last and not the least, and the most important thing, this is a qualifying paper with minimum qualifying marks as 33%, which is almost your 67 marks in your question paper. But while this is qualifying, do not take it lightly, because we have seen people who were so well equipped to crack mains, and since mains is the actual decider, like you score very well in mains, and no matter you score average in an interview or not, you actually get a good rank. But if you are not prepared to pass the prelims, this mains preparation is of no use. So don't take it very lightly. Anyway, exam is there in just a matter of less than 3 months from now. Almost 3 months today. Yeah, little more than 3 months, I would say. But let's not count those last 4 to 5 days. Okay, so barely 3 months we have in hands, and that's easily doable. That's quite sufficient if you practice it well. Okay, allocate some dedicated time for this. Talking about related or relevant exams, which I was mentioning earlier, there are a number of exams which may be class 1, class 2 kind of level, They span from various fields. They could be related to police, forest, legal, or even other clerical kind of exams, banking exams, basically clerical as well as officer kind of exams. So, and mind you, that this exam or this question paper which you are going to have in those exams is not uh, just the passing one. In more than 99%, I would say, of the exams, this the actual scores are going to be counted. So this is a very, very integral part of those exams. Okay. And the reason we are also talking about these exams is, whenever someone is preparing for UPSC, as a mentor we always advise them to be prepared with a plan B. Okay, it's always good to be extremely positive that I don't need any plan B, my plan A is going to work and all. Definitely that's great, I really like the confidence, but UPSC success ratio is less than 2%, as you might be knowing. Not 2% rather, I'm overstating it, it's zero point 0.2 or 0.02%. Okay, if you consider serious and non-serious kind of candidates. So in such case, it is important that you need to have some kind of a plan B with you. And talking about plan B, try to have it in such a way that it shouldn't be completely odd, that you shouldn't have to study completely something differently for that plan B. Okay, so that's where these exams are going to help you. Something like CPF, which is your Central Police Forces, you start with Assistant Commandant. State CSCs like MPSC, UPPCS, Rajasthan PSC, and so on. RBI Grade B. This is one amazing exam, tougher than UPSC if it comes to selection stats. You start with manager at RBI and you can go on up to becoming deputy governor. Then there are SEBI exams, forest services exams, be it IFOS or state level forest exams, combined defense services, probationary officer exams for SBI or other nationalized banks, that is IBPS, RBI assistant. These are all clerical exams. SBI IBPS clerical, SSC, and many more. The list is quite long. That we can't really have all the exams listed over here. Okay, but the important point is, you study for this. It will be helpful not just for UPSC prelims, but also for all these other exams that you plan to attend. Okay, this is your power play. Yes, we know this guy, Chris Gill, the devastating batsman. So power play in the sense now, CSAT, as you might have seen in some previous years question papers, that UPSC is now playing some kind of games. You know, when I say games, it's like they give a lengthy passage and ask only one or two questions associated with that passage. Previously, when it started back in 2011, it used to be like one passage and 6 to 7 questions, so that was worth it, spending time in it. But now the number of passages have increased and the number of questions associated have decreased. Okay, so you have to be very smart enough that if you want to really go for passage reading and answering those questions, you need to have time in your hand. And how will you save time for that? Is that your maths, like numeracy, mental ability, logical reasoning related questions, if you could do them quite fast, that time you can utilize for your reading comprehension kind of an exam. So similar to power play, like you hit really well in your power play, so you get a cushion that in the remaining overs you can play by holding your wicket so that you don't lose your wicket, and you can also put up a decent score there, right? So this is your power play. Play it very well, don't lose your wicket here. You will lose your wicket if you don't practice. Okay, now let's decode the syllabus. Broadly, I have said that CSAT I will divide it into two parts. One is reading comprehension and non-reading comprehension. Reading comprehension, I'm sure Aditya sir has been taking your sessions about how to read newspaper, how to analyze it. Basically, same principles you need to apply when you are reading for the passages, reading the passages. And mind you that there may be different people telling you about different strategies, that first read the questions, then go for the passages and so on. But please don't do that. Okay, never go in a reverse way. Always read the passage, try to understand, and then go for questions. But of course, detailed strategy we will see later. But let's come back to the broader divisions, which is RC and non-reading comprehension. So non-RC will contain everything else like numeracy, logical and analytical reasoning, decision making, and data interpretation. Just taking a look at previous year's question papers, starting 2011 when CSAT was introduced in my batch, my batch as in my exam batch, until 2021. As you can see, decision making questions are now very less or almost nil for last couple of years. For various reasons, that there were no negative markings for that, making it complicated to calculate scores and so on. But maths and numeracy, as you can see, Maths and the second part, the logical reasoning and analytical part, that constitutes almost up to 40 to 50 questions every year, easily out of 80. So which is more than 50% of your question paper. Meaning, if you want to clear the exam, you either you rely 100% on RC, so that in that 50% of your RC you make sure you score 67 to 70 marks and you clear it, or you have to make sure that you don't lose marks, many marks in the first section, that is maths and logical reasoning. And from my experience, I would say never trust RC so much, because RC passages, reading comprehension passages, are quite tricky. Okay, they can be very very confusing. Many of them are subject to interpretation analysis, like what would be the title of the passage and so on, which is very tricky. As against kind of a math wherein you know this is the data provided, this is a formula, put numbers in a formula, get the answer, this is your answer. Okay, it's pretty black and white instead of playing in a gray zone. Okay, so that's where we need to focus on maths and numeracy. Now, decoding it further, maths and basic numeracy will contain number systems like your squares, cubes, averages, ratio proportions. I mix something in this ratio, that ratio. If I score X X marks in an exam versus if I score Y marks in an exam, what would be my percentage increase? Then there could be questions related to interest calculations like simple interest, compound interest, like principal interest rate, the tenure, and all these terms, if you remember from your school days. Okay, then there may be questions related to time, work, distance, like 10 people do the job in 5 days. What if I make it 20 people? What if I reduce them to 2 people? And so on. Distance related questions, very straightforward formulae, like two trains approaching each other at this so and so speed, in how much time they will completely cross one another, what if they are going in the same direction, etc., etc. Okay, and then probability. If I'm, let us say, simplest questions, like if I'm rolling two dice, then what is the probability that there will be six on both the dice at the same time, and so on. These kind of questions will be there. Permutations, combinations, it's like I have to select three people out of a group of 10. Then how can I select, what if there should be two boys, one girl, and so on. Those kind of very very basic math questions. In general mental ability, your coding, decoding kind of questions. If I write ABC as XYZ, how can I write PQR? Something like that. Code language is given, you need to decode it and provide the answer for next one. Blood relations, if A is B's mother, C is B's daughter-in-law, then D is B's brother, then what is the relation between A and D? Things like that. Direction sense, things like, okay, I walked 10 kilometers in east, then I turned right, then walked further 8 kilometers, and further turned left, walked for 9 kilometers. Where am I from the original starting point? Which direction and what distance? Similarly, puzzles, verbal, non-verbal, those could be, when we say verbal and non-verbal, typically verbal will have some statements or sentences associated or words associated. You need to find the missing one or the next in the series. Non-verbal is like diagrams will be provided. You may either need to find the odd man out based on the pattern, or you may need to find out the next in the series, or it could contain questions related to reflections, like a particular image will be provided, what, how will it reflect in the water, how will it reflect in the mirror, and so on. Those kind of questions. Decision making I won't touch upon, because they're very rare chances that you will get any kind of questions, but typically a scenario will be provided, and as an administrator, what will be your decision? Those kind of questions are asked there. Talking about data interpretation, a data will be either provided in the form of a graph. It could be a pie chart or a bar chart or a line graph, or it could be provided in terms of verbose. Okay, and you need to interpret that data and find out the answer. Data interpretation, very less questions have been asked in UPSC civil service exams, but this is a very, very important topic when it comes to all other exams. It definitely contributes 5 to 7 questions every exam. Okay, and then comes the logical reasoning, like your syllogism, statement, and conclusion. Syllogism is something like if A is to B, then what is C is to D. Statements and conclusion or assertion and statement is like if A is equal to B, B may or may not be greater than C, then what is the relation between A and C is given, whether that conclusion is in accordance with statements or not. Similarly, assertion and reason, like all males in the village are above 18, there are no illiterate males in the village, then can we say all males, all 18 plus in the village are literate? So it's like, is it going with the, like, is the assertion and reason combination correct? Um, so things like that, that you will have, basically you just need to apply your logical brain There is no formula over there. It's just a matter of practice and understanding the question well, that you will be able to cover it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And this is our course schedule starting 5th of March. As you can see, our focus is going to be heavily on basic numeracy and general mental ability, because that is going to cover more than 60% of your question paper. We will also touch upon all these logical reasoning, data interpretation, and other aspects. And we will be concluding it by 22nd of May. So you will have almost 2 weeks in your hands for all your practice, revision, everything. Of course, you should be continuing the practice as we go along, but no new learning should be there in the last 2 weeks. And I would say you can apply this for other topics as well. No new learnings preferably in last 2 weeks. Just prefer to revise whatever you have learned so far. Okay, so with that, let's call it a day. But before that, important note: all you need is, for our sessions, you need pen and paper, because we are going to practice a lot of examples in the class. I will give you sufficient time so that you can solve it by yourself. And whoever doesn't get it, I will solve it for them. And we will see various tips and tricks. So pen and paper for practice. If you want notebook, you can take notes. You can maintain it your own notebook. It's completely up to you. uh, Plus willingness to be attentive in the class. Make sure that you understand all the tips and tricks well. You ask questions wherever it is not understood. Okay, and practice, practice, practice. That is what going to take you through the exam. Okay, so don't take it lightly. At the same time, don't be afraid of it too much. Make sure you are completely attentive in the class. Okay, that's it. And keep calm and trust your teacher. We will help you getting through the exam. And we are not just your teachers or coaches, we are your mentors. So you can ask any and every kind of questions related to the exam, right from how to do the planning, or what should be the exam strategy, or the preparation strategy, and so on. Anything and everything you can ask us. We are there to help you. Okay, time for Q&A.